George Yuri College. Long time no see, my old friend.
Indeed it is.
How have you been?
Loving life, loving life.
Yeah? So, from what I understand, you've remained in the security industry all of these years, in the years since we've seen each other?
Indeed, indeed.
Okay, so specifically now, what type of security are you doing?
I work at Parliament, Queensland Parliament.
Okay.
So security officer at Parliament, relief supervisor. In that time since I've seen you, I've gone off and studied, got a Bachelor of Security Management, Counter-Terrorism, Terrorism through uni over in WA.
Yeah.
Currently studying my Master's degree.
Yeah.
And doing a thesis for my Master's is on the Quran and how it's used to radicalise people from like Islamic faith.
Okay. That's pretty full on shit, man. That's good.
Hmm.
So, can you tell me about your start, how you got your start in the security industry, and what it was like back in the day when you first got started?
I was 16 years old, so snapshot to my childhood. My father's ex-special forces, training in his Croatian. It was Yugoslav army. He was a Spetsnaz, so he went over to Russia and trained special forces there. He was a wrestling champion, military wrestling champion, freestyle wrestling. Came to Australia in 1955. My mum came to Australia, she was Italian, 1957. When I was born, my father started training at the age of 4. So I've done Greco-Roman, freestyle wrestling and military martial arts. Also done Aikido Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai and Kung Fu, a couple of different types of Kung Fu, and boxing.
So, on the job as a bouncer, technique-wise, like what out of those different styles, what techniques did you find most effective as a bouncer? Out of, like, you said you were mentioning Greco-Roman, and you're also mentioning like the Japanese, and you're also mentioning like the hand-to-hand combat stuff. With you specifically, what did you find the most effective?
Verbal communication. As much as the physical aspect of the job is there, it only really makes up about 10% of what we deal with. You needed to, even though cognitively you would turn around and say, talk to the person and explain to them, look, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And you're, in your mind, you're going, where are his hands, where are his feet, how is he standing, what's his posture, look at his eyes. You do a read of the person. You need to assess the threat before the threat happens. Now, as much as wrestling is extremely effective, there's nothing better than a jiu-jitsu lock. A kung fu strike is fantastic. Wrestling to put them on the ground. Jiu-jitsu.
So where does the kung fu strike to? Where would the strike be to?
Anywhere. Like the strike.
Most effectively, where's the most effective? Would you say it would be the carotid artery?
Like I used to slap people.
Because I saw you many a time. You would use what would look like a bitch slap, but it would be actually like a hand-to-hand combat technique.
So it's 45.
So let me see So let me get close to your hands. Let me see your hands. Now put them in frame. Okay, George, now show me with your hands. Okay.
So what you would do is you lock your elbow in, and you use your hip to power the strike. So, and 45 degrees up underneath the chin. So you're actually aiming for the opposite ear. So you drive through the person. That would generally, it just looks like a bitch slap, but the power that you're generating from that open-handed strike, besides the fact it leaves no bruising, no marks, doesn't really injure them, because the idea is you catch them with your left hand. So you hit them with your right, you catch them with the left, and you lay them down. They're out for anywhere from 30 seconds up to 4 to 7 minutes. I think 12 minutes was the record. But, you didn't want to hurt the patron. You didn't want to hurt the person, because it was never personal.
Okay, well, what about locks then? We use a lot of locks. What about your wrist lock?
I loved them. They were pain compliance is an extremely effective path.
Can you repeat what you just said? What'd you say? Pain what?
Pain compliance.
Can you explain to me what you mean by that?
Generally, people who are drunk aren't very. They don't want to do what they're told.
Yeah.
They're very arrogant. A small amount of pain compliance will snap out that inebriated, I'm not doing what you're telling me, to do the right thing. So they're going to do what they're told because they're in pain, and the easiest way to stop the pain is merely to do as you're told.
Okay, so like with a lock, I remember like we'd put the pressure lock on somebody, right? And then if they didn't comply, all we would do is we would just use our gravity, force of gravity, to step up because we were big guys, and the force of gravity, in fact, would snap their wrist. Is that correct? Is that the correct assumption?
Well, yeah, but we weren't aiming to snap their wrist. We were more stretching tendons to cause pressure on the joint.
Yeah.
Therefore, that would give them the desired result.
But if they were fighting it and we had that locked on, really, that essentially, either we have to hold on to them for as long as possible, or they're going to get out of that lock.
We'll check them out too.
But like if we've got someone in a lock, and they've got that hammered on and they're resisting that lock, for us, our best way is to not let them get the position out of that. So sometimes we would just have to stand up with our gravity, because you and I, because of our height, and just let gravity do its job of snapping the tendons or snapping the muscles or whatever, right?
Whatever's required. I also remember that there was that boxer that came in. He was pretty good. He was from Redcliffe. You knew him, and he'd taken a couple of security out, and I body slammed him, which was just straight up wrestling.
Yeah.
And he didn't know what hit him. Like, once he was on the ground, and we had him locked up, and he was screaming like a bitch. He was extremely compliant. And he was a Golden Gloves boxer. You find that the less trained people were more resistant to those who were trained.
Yeah.
Because those that were trained knew very, very, very quickly that once you had them, they were fucked. And we weren't only like good at our jobs. Everybody that worked in the team, myself and Alex and myself, we and yourself were trained. When you started, you were young and you were very pliable and you were very easy to work with because we could teach you the techniques that worked for us. So in order to bring somebody up to that level to be a team member, you need to make them a Padawan or for that sort of thing. You got to teach them to move forward.
Okay.